Hey y'all, do you want a cheap rod for crappie fishing that you can throw in the back of your truck or behind your seat or in your trunk of your car? Not have to worry about it getting damaged. It's not too expensive. Well, stay with me because in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to show you. What are you doing today, buddy? I'm trying to make a video here to help people catch more crappies. What kind of dance is that you're doing anyway? Yeah. Well, here it is. This is my favorite crappie rod for springtime fishing. It's a Black Widow. And I know what you're thinking. Hey Gary, isn't that a little short and stiff? Well, I get that all the time. What it is it's a compact cane pole. And on all my trips in the springtime, we're gonna use this kind of rod right here. And what you do is you just take the top out of it right here. It's got a little stopper in there. I've got the cork and the jig and all that wrapped up here. Let me show you what I got here. You undo the line right there, holds it all on there, and then you're going to extend the rod out. This particular rod's 13 feet. 13 feet seems to work good for me. I've got 15-pound line on here. So if we hang a big bass or a catfish or something like that, we're going to be able to land it most times, unless it gets around a stump or something like that. I've got a bobber stopper up here on the line, and that's going to keep the bobber that I have from going up. That sets my depth, so I can slide that up and down. Any depth that I'm going to fish, I can just move it up and down really quickly. I've got just a small, cheap little bobber on there. I've got an 1/8 ounce jig head on there, and that's what I use even with minnows. I like to add a little bit of color. I'll just hook them right through the back, right through the dorsal fin, make sure they're swimming really good. This gives them a little color. I'll use pink, orange, and chartreuse. Probably pink is what I use primarily. That's basically all you need. You're ready to go fishing. I do sometimes put a jig on there, and I'll jig it around, and I've got another one right here rigged up with a jig on there. I want to show you one more thing about these bobbers. I got two different styles. This bobber here, the end of it will get eat up from a lot of use. What I'll do is I'll tie a longer leader on my jig right there, on my tag end line. I'll make the tag end line longer, and then that way it doesn't slip up in the bobber. It stays outside the bobber. If you cut it off short like I normally would, it'll go up inside there and it'll get hung. And a lot of times when you pitch the bait out, it'll just hang there like this. It won't go down unless the minnow's big or he's really active, and he'll kick it loose, you know, and it'll come on down. But I'll just do that to avoid that. I'll leave that tag line a lot longer. Also, one thing I'd advise doing when you get these is I tape this end up, because if you don't, inevitably when you go to close this thing, which is basically I hit it on the ground like this, close it. But if you don't tape that up, you're liable to lose that end off of there. It'll come off, knock it off. And you just tie your line right up here to the top. This is a Black Widow by B&M right here. I have another one. It's called Apache Crappie Pole. It's a little bit lighter than this other one is, and it's got a little bit of grip on the handle there, so you can hold it a little better, I guess. But it's basically the same setup. Now I do have a different bobber set up on this one, and on this one you don't have to worry about it going up inside there. You don't have to worry about the line tie going up inside it. It does really good, so you can cut it shorter. And I've got a jig on this one right here. These things, by the way, are like $10, $12. I mean, they're not very expensive. And I'll put a link down in the description of the video on them. So if you want to have one mailed to you, shipped to your door, you don't have to fool with going to get one at Walmart or wherever they sell them. You can just do that too. So the link will be down in the description. The hardest things for some folks to learn when they're using one of these, they don't pendulum swing it out like this and just let the weight of the bait and the cork and all swing itself. They want to put too much arm in it. They're doing this, and that doesn't work, because they'll do this and it'll just flop and not go out there very far. So basically you just want to hold it up. Oh, by the way, so you see how much line I have on there. I have it just about the length of the rod. It can be there a little bit here. And the reason why you want it like that is because when you do catch a fish on one of these, all you do is set the hook and hold it up high, and then that fish will swing towards you when you do that. What a lot of folks, it's hard for them to get the hang of it. When they hang one, they'll choke up on it like this, for one thing, which is not a good idea either. And when they catch one, they'll start walking back like this with it. Well, that just makes the line longer, basically, and the fish can just get out there and just take off. So it's best just to set the hook and let it swing towards you like this. It's a lot easier to do it that way. And I've caught several fish 7 to 9 pounds black bass on this thing too. And also a lot of big catfish that weigh between, I'm gonna say 5, 10 pounds, something like that. So this thing will hold them. Now after a while, especially if somebody steps on it or something, it's liable to break. Or if you pick up too big of a fish on it, it's liable to break too, you know, so you gotta be careful with them. But like I said, for $10 or $12, throw it in the back of your truck. You're on your way home from work, you see a creek or you got a lake spot that you want to get an hour in before dark, man, I'm telling you, this is the way to go. Also, the reason why I have it set up like this with the jig head on there and not just a split shot and a minnow, or you know, and a Barrett hook, an Aberdeen hook or something like that, is because normally I'm fishing around heavy cover, and for myself it seems easier for that bait to get down in there with that jig head. It'll fall straight down in there, and it's less chance that it'll hang up. If you've got a split shot up here and you've got an Aberdeen hook down here, the minnow does have a lot more action, but he can tend to swim around some stuff too and get it hung up and go up under some weeds. And if he goes up under the weeds, he'll just hang out there, and then there very seldom will crappie hit him out of the weeds or wrap around some sticks or something like that. So rigging it like that just seems to work better for me. And what I do is when I'm going down the shoreline with customers, I'll keep them out far enough that they can't reach all the brush and all the sticks and weeds and whatever we're fishing. They can just get right to the edge of it. Instead of throwing up in the trees and throwing up on the bank, I let this 13-foot rod, so you figure that's probably, we're roughly 26 feet away from whatever we're fishing, so that we can just swing it out there and land it in whatever we're going to be, in the cover we're going to be able to fish. If I was using a spinning rod, I stay hung up, everybody stays hung up, just trying to pitch it up around the edge of the weeds, up and around the trees and the brush. And so these are way more efficient for me to use. If you just wanted to use this as a jig rod, it works really well for that. So you can just, down here on this end, you could rig up, you know, I'm gonna say 2 foot, 3 foot of line, foot of line, and then you can walk around the shoreline and just jig. Just easing it down in the cover, just dropping it out there. If you were wading or something like that, you could just ease it down in there and drop it around. So it works really well like as a jig pole too, without as much line on it. All right, I just want to show you really fast how to do this from this perspective. So if you can see that shoreline weeds right out there, I'm just going to swing this thing out there and let it easily down in the water. Just let it sit around a little bit. Now if I had a minnow on there, he'd be doing all the work for me. He'd be swimming all around, calling up a crappie. But all I have is a jig, so what I'll do is I'll let it sit around, hop around. The wind will move it around a lot. You just want to set it out there nice and easy. Another thing, if you flip it up too high, when you go, if you're trying to get it up there and you go like this, and it does this, and flops down on the water like that, if you're using minnows, man, it'll knock your minnow off so much. You'll use so many minnows, you'll just waste a lot of bait. So it's easy just to swim, nice and easy, set it out there and let it pendulum out, gently go in the water, and it's all about finding a crappie now. Let's see if I work it around this, say I'm wading the bank like this, and I work it around this shoreline stuff, and I don't get anything right up here close. I can just slide the bobber stopper down, give it a little bit more depth, try it out a little further. Sometimes they'll spawn out a little further. It's getting a little later in the year now. Water's warming up into the 60s. They'll sometimes spawn further off the bank than they do at the beginning of the season. If you watch my last video about how to catch spawning crappie, you see that I'm fishing right up next to the bank. I'll put a link to that video, this side, that side, whatever side it comes up on. If you hadn't saw it, maybe check it out, you might like it. Maybe there are a few tips in there that might help you out. And see that turtle, he was out there, look at there, he was about 25 feet away from me, and I just got it right out there to him. I'll jerk it a lot. When I'm fishing that jig out there, I'll jerk it like this, trying to get a fish interested in it. When we get that jig in his nest, man, he'll eat it. Another thing, when I'm fishing this shallow for these crappie, I like to keep that jig just right off the bottom. At the beginning when I start, I'll pitch it out there, and if I hit the bottom or if I don't hit the bottom, I'll adjust this bobber stopper up until I can get that cork to lay over. It's kind of laying over down there, out there right now, because it's on the bottom. So what I'll do now is I'll pull that down and adjust it maybe a couple inches, just to keep that thing just off the bottom, kind of in the face of those fish. And with that bobber stopper, when you're going around the shore like this and you're changing depths, man, you just slide it up and down. You know, you're not catching them out a little far like that, and you get up here a little closer to the bank and it goes up on the bottom, or it comes on the bottom. Now all you do is just slide it again and just change the depth on it as you go along. You find the right depth, man, it can happen in a hurry. Look at it. Oh man, that was a big old grinnell. That son of a gun ate it, boy. Shoot. That ain't what we're here for. But he sure did like that. He hit that jig as soon as it got over there and sunk that thing. Those things are stretchy string. Ooh, man. Now get out of here, snakes, if you're in here. And if you got any overhanging limbs, I do encourage you to be watching out for those, because you will end up in them with this long thing if you're not careful. Ooh, something touched it. Ooh, something nibbled it again. Right there. Sometimes when you, sometimes you get in an area and they won't hit it very well. They'll just barely pop it a little bit, just trying to get it out of their nest. They're not really aggressive. That and actually hit it like a perch. You talking about fun bluegill fishing too with these things? Man, for kids, they're great. Like I say, you'd want to make sure there ain't much trees above you, but the kids don't have to cast. They can just set it out there. You don't have to worry about them being all tangled up all the time. The reels being tangled up, and it's just fun to see that bobber go down. There he is. Looky there. I'm telling you, it'll get him. That's a little guy, but we got us one. Let's see if there's any more out there. One thing on the jig though, what I'll do, now if it's a minnow, I don't care, but on the jig, I don't want him hanging down like that right there. So I'm gonna twist it, pull that knot back this way so that it hangs straight. And the reason why I don't have a loop knot on there is because the loop knot will go up inside the bobber, and sometimes it'll hang. Now it might not hang on this one because it's plastic, but on the other ones that are just styrofoam, it'll hang up inside there and the bait won't go down. But if you do it just like that, see, it'll hang level, and they'll come get it. It seems like if it's hanging down at an angle, they won't hit it that good. Why that is, I don't have any idea. Nope, there's a bite. There, oh, there he was, dadgummit. Shoot, right in there. I haven't fished this area for crappie before, and I just was actually gonna just demonstrating how to use this thing. And yeah, the fisherman in me made me start walking around more. So I've been here a couple minutes now and I've already had 3 bites. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll find these fish with jigs first, fishing like I am now. Obviously I'm in the boat, but I can fish it so fast, not have to worry about knocking my bait off and stuff. And if I get a bite like I did a while ago right out here and that other fish right there, I'll remember that, and then I'll come in and fish it with minnows. And you let that minnow soak around in there, swimming around, he'll find the rest of them. Sometimes they won't hit the jig very well in the bed, but you stick minnows in there and they'll really get aggressive and start hitting them. Then when you're through, you can just twist it, hit it on the ground, however you want to do it, get it put up. Wrap your line around it like this right here. Put your stopper back in there, line's held. Throw that sun gun in the back of the truck or behind the seat or in the trunk. You're good to go. Well, y'all, hey, I'd encourage you to get you one of these rods, or 2 or 3 of them. I probably got 8 or 9 of them myself. You'll enjoy fishing with them. Your kids will enjoy fishing with them. They're just a great rod to have. Please hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining me.